Hello, respected viewers. It's George from Ireland. Welcome back to my channel. And in this video, I'm going to summarize what Vance said about Europe just 3 days ago, principally European Union, but Europe as a whole. So he's the Vice President of the United States, and methinks it's his first visit to the continent whilst serving in that office. So Mr. Vance, he castigated various European countries, supposed allies of the United States, which are supposed to share the same democratic values as the USA. And he said that actually the greatest enemy of Europe comes from within. And it's not the adversaries like the People's Republic of China or the Russian Federation, but Europe itself, which is destroying most of what's noblest in the European tradition. So he said that Europe has abandoned its long cherished values, is disregarding the will of the people with regard to immigration and indeed free expression. Now, I concur with some of what he said. I thought it was a little alarmist, and it's difficult to generalize about a continent of over 500 million people, up to 45 countries, if you include Russia, for instance. Um, and it's the situation's not bad everywhere, but to some extent he was on the money. He was also correct that Europe's had a free ride in terms of defense. Well, Western Europe, Russia's adversaries, America's allies, in not spending enough. Now, some of them, like Poland and the Baltics, have come up to that standard. Others in the very west of Europe, like sort of Spain, Portugal, Republic of Ireland, one of the worst offenders. But okay, the Irish Republic were not in NATO. On the other hand, the Republic of Ireland, we need to spend all the more precisely because we're not in NATO. Anyway, he hopes that a settlement will be reached about that. But he particularly tore into the United Kingdom for criminalising free expression. For human rights activists who are trying to save children can't demonstrate at the relevant location is the last chance these children's defenders have to save a child's life. By chanting a slogan, by speaking to someone, by proffering a leaflet, anything, holding up a banner, no matter how anodyne the content of that, that is a crime within 150 meters of the pertinent place. And supposed to prevent harassment, harassment's illegal anyway. So why how much harassment has gone on at abortion clinics in the United Kingdom? None whatsoever, not a single instance, so far as I know of. There's not been a single conviction, to my knowledge, arrest or even prosecution on suspicion of that. And I'm pointing out that Adam Smith Connors, this army veteran, was found guilty of the crime of expressing his views or praying silently in his mind in public, just because it happened to be beside a human slaughterhouse. And so police harassment of these human rights activists is absolutely noisome. When human rights activists are insulted, spat at, assaulted, threatened with death, the police do nothing about that. The police are very, very obviously on one side about that sort of thing. And so Vice President Vance was correct to say there's this outright assault on religious freedom in the United Kingdom and so on. So, but you can't try and influence someone's behavior around one of these places, supposedly, unless, of course, you're an abortionist. That influences their behavior, actually doing it, handing out their disinformation, talking to people, persuading to give them money, and so on. Now, Vance said that a German party shouldn't rule out work with the Alternative für Deutschland. Now, obviously, I know it's up to the Germans to decide the composition of their coalition. The AfD, they're not to my taste, but I don't think they're Nazis. Even people think they have some sympathies in that direction. Although I concur with some of what he said, it was undiplomatic to say the least to wade into some of these internal rows. Don't doubt he has the legal and moral right to say these things. I just think it's not entirely sage. And US politics is something that European politicians have commented on, and I don't see why America shouldn't comment on the other way around. I mean, I believe in free speech. We're all human beings. I reserve the right to opine on the internal affairs of every country in the world. Please comment on the affairs of the Republic of Ireland and indeed the United Kingdom. And so it goes on. So the AfD, they have applauded what Vice President Vance is saying. And as for democracy, he said, when Romania had to cancel this presidential election because they thought there was a large-scale Russian influence operation hacking that, spending only about $100,000 of digital advertising. He said, well, the democracy wasn't robust in the first instance if it could easily be swayed to something of that small scale. But bear in mind, Romania is a country of under 20 million people. $100,000 actually goes quite a long way there. But it's precisely because Russia had hacked it. That's why the Romanians said, we can't risk what happened in 2016 in the United States happening in Romania, which is to say that this Russian disinformation operation determines the outcome of the election. So Vice President Vance, he was on the money sometimes, and okay, about immigration. Obviously, it's for each sovereign state to decide its own immigration policy, and majority of people in almost every European country would agree there's been too much immigration. And not many people say there should be none whatsoever. I certainly don't want it to be none. There are some people who say that immigration is insufficient. Um, but politicians in most countries are at least trying to get it down. They're maybe not reducing it as radically as most people would like. It's easier said than done. It's in Central and Eastern Europe. There's not that much immigration, partly because they're less prosperous. Not something we want to do. I mean, Tony Blair, not someone with whom I see eye to eye, but in his autobiography, A Journey, he said the fundamental question about any country is: are people trying to get in, or are people trying to get out? And if more people want in than out, that's a healthy sign. Moreover, these graying populations, they need more people to do the work, partly because they're so closeted and mollycoddled and living off benefits. Citizens of all races in the United Kingdom and elsewhere, really just panhandlers and being on benefits as a career. Like, look at the United Kingdom. In London, I can't think the last time I was served by a British waiter or waitress in a restaurant in London. The rest of the UK, it's a bit different. Barman, barmaid. I mean, a Briton of any race. So fine that foreign people want to come to the UK to work in these jobs. Is not a bad thing. The bad thing is that British people very seldom are willing to do these jobs and be farm laborers, work in construction, be care workers, and so on. So, like I was saying, in the UK, over 9 million people economically inactive. Some of them are genuinely disabled, some of them are pensioners, all right, but a lot of them are able-bodied, are very able to work, and they're just skiving off. They're just slobbing around, and they're just leeching off everybody else, the sweat of my brow, and so on. Um, so US said, put those politicians there in the first place. He said England. So you're saying Vice President Vance was particularly critical of England, or maybe you mean the United Kingdom as a whole. I'm unsure. But Vance, this will be music to the ears of Nigel Farage. He'll probably be hoping that he can capitalise on this for the furtherance of Reform UK's electoral prospects. But the advancement of Trumpist views in European Union countries and non-EU European countries like the United Kingdom is quite possible. So yeah, let's bring back freedom of expression. It should be robustly defended. There's a lot wrong with the USA, but it is good that they do have strong freedom of expression protections in the Constitution, the First Amendment. Worryingly, seems to be abrogated when people speak up for Palestinian human rights. Well, thanks for watching my channel. Make sure you subscribe on Patreon, donate to PayPal, georgecallahan79@gmail.com. Toodle pip.